Okay, have senior day this week, last home game for our seniors that have done an outstanding job through the course of their career. Definitely want to send these guys out on a high note. Want to congratulate Ryan Davis on becoming the all-time receptions leader in school history, which is a huge accomplishment with some great receivers that have come through here. And then also Jarrett Stidham and Ryan on being the most completions from a quarterback receiver tandem in school history, which is also a huge accomplishment, and real proud of those guys. They've been a big part of our success in, the last few years. Looking ahead, at Liberty, a very solid team, a team that beat a very good Troy team earlier in the year. Very dynamic on offense. They do a very good job defensively. You can tell they're well coached, and of course Turner Gill is a very good coach with his staff. So it'll be a challenge as far as that's concerned. A couple updates. Nick Cole will be out this week. I don't know anything past this week right now. I'm not ready to say. Javaris Davis will be day-to-day this week, and we'll practice today. But overall, like I said, we're gearing up for our last home game. Being senior day is a big deal for our players. So looking forward to that. Questions?
What exactly is Co's injury? You said you weren't sure on that.
Yeah, he's got a kind of a wrist type situation.
What has the senior group kind of meant to Auburn, over the years, what they've been able to accomplish?
Well, they're a class group. They've helped us win a lot of football games on the field, but the way they've handled themselves, off the field, on the field, true Auburn men. And like I said, when I think of this group, there's a lot of real classy young men with high character. They've done a good job with their leadership this year. Everything hadn't went as well as planned, as but they've really done a super job from a leadership standpoint, and just really feel strong that we need to come out and play good football for those guys, and that last home game being senior day.
Gus, correct me if my lack of football knowledge is bad, but
It's not bad. You've been around a long time, so
but playing fast and frequently substituting
yeah,
with the rules today seem to be impossible to do both at the same time.
yeah.
Is that an issue that you're looking at or trying to figure
No,
out?
not playing fast, and I think I said this last week. If you're playing fast with the same personnel, you need to score points or at least flip the field. The worst thing can happen is 3 and out, and so you have to balance that. And then you got to look at the entirety of each individual game. It's a little bit different and unfolds differently, and how well the defense is playing, field position, everything that goes with that. So, that the tempo aspect is really, I think that's where it starts. And then the personnel groups is a complete different thing. As far as certain situations you want certain personnel in, it may be by field position, it may be by down and distance, as far as a defensive tendency to go with that. But probably the easiest way to answer that is, like I said at the first, each game is different, unfolds differently, and if you're playing fast, you need to at least flip the field or score points.
You guys try to hit a few deep passes every game, or at least try them. Against Georgia, I think you only have one or two. Kind of what went into that, and why was that?
Well, looking back, I thought our plan was a pretty solid plan. There's a couple. I think we had 2 second and shorts, second and twos, and we end up not converting first downs. But when you get in the red area, you got a chance to be a little more aggressive. They do a good job of trying to keep things in front of, and a lot of times deep safeties. But as far as the game unfolded, I think if the third down obviously was 3 of 13 or something like that was with Achilles heel, but each game is different, and you have a different plan coming in each game as far as what they give you. I think we did try a couple with Darius, and down the field, and 18 was covering him, which is an excellent defensive back, one of the best in our league.
At this point, Gus, is there any way to kind of save the running game? 'Cause it seems like you had another struggling day against Georgia's running
Well,
game.
we did some good things in the run game. We hit a couple runs. you know, as far as that goes. And so I see some progress. That was a very good run defense that we went against. But I do see progress, and we're going to continue to do that. And, you know, offensive line, I thought overall they had a solid game. Didn't give up any sacks. We didn't have any penalties. You know, so there was some good things. We are progressing. I'll say that. We are progressing up front.
The way you've struggled this season offensively, when the season does end, do you have to take maybe one of your deepest and hardest looks at what's going right and what's going wrong with this offense after this being your 6th year and it might be your worst year offensively?
Yeah. I think at the end of every year, Brandon, you know, you sit back and you evaluate everything and you assess everything, and we'll definitely do that at the end of the year. You know, right now we've got 2 games to play, and we need to do the best plan and execute the best we can, you know, these last 2 games, and then we'll sit back and be able to assess, you know, all the above.
Do you ever see this coming at the beginning of the season?
You know, I think the reality is, Brandon, when you get to this point, you look back and, you know, we were very inexperienced up front, which we've talked about before, and you know, we played a whole lot of freshmen, more than we've ever done, and we've experienced some growing pains, you know, throughout the season. So to answer your question, we expected to do better. I think that's kind of common sense and fair to say, but we are extremely youthful, and I think that's fair to say. And the majority of our guys are coming back next year, so that's going to be a really good thing as far as some of the growing pains we've experienced this year. Are we happy with where we're at offensively? No. I mean, that's common sense, but you got to kind of see it as entirety. And you know, all these, I think 75% of our offense's production is coming from freshmen, so that's good for the future. Right now, we need to, you know, these last 3 games, we need to play better.
We're not able to speak to defensive coordinator Kevin Steele, but in your discussions with him just during this stretch here, the last 4 or 5 games, what has been the common issue that has allowed so many rushing yards and also some busts and everything on 3rd and long?
Yeah, you know, I think really the simplest way to put it is probably 3rd down. We've had some trouble in those games you're talking about, getting off the field on 3rd down, and that allows more snaps, you know, as far as that goes. So I think that's probably the fairest way to answer that question.
Alan Green spoke to us, a few of us, last week and said you were going to be the coach next year and you were the future at Auburn.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a pretty ironclad statement by him that you're definitely?
Yeah, that there's no doubt. I mean, I'm gonna be the coach, and we'll get this thing turned around, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, how often do you speak with Alan?
We speak once a week. I think I said that earlier.
Yeah.
You know, we have our weekly meetings and all that.
I know a lot in your time here, the last 3 years especially, you've always said the future's bright.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of recruiting classes, a lot of turnover within those recruiting classes, and one could say that that's one of the reasons why maybe you're struggling right now. You had a lot of players leave for the last 3 years. What's going to be different in the future?
Well, you know, I think if it kind of goes back to what I just said earlier, the youth that we have on offense, and you know, so that's really exciting as far as that goes. And then defensively, we recruited well, and feel strong we're going to be really good on defense again next year. Our special teams, that's the one area that has really greatly improved this year, and we have our kicker back, and obviously one of the best punters in college football. So there's a whole lot of positives once we get to next year. But obviously, we have 3 games left, and that's really what I'm focused on, you know, right now.
Yes. How important is it to have multiple guys running the football effectively? 13, 16, and 10 guys had rushing years, and there are either 3 or 4 guys with big rushing numbers.
Yeah, and you know, I think it is a culmination of a few different things. We hadn't had the number of plays that we had in those years, the number of carries. We hadn't rushed the football as much as those years you're talking about. So, you know, I think it's important. Each team is different, and but you know, anytime you get multiple guys that are successful, that means good things are happening.
Since you became the head coach here, how much have things changed among just defenses in the conference and in the nation that has affected the way you go about leading your offense?
Yeah, you know, every year, you know, things change a little bit, but year to year is different. We were very successful on offense last year. This year we weren't as successful. Next year we will be. So I think that's probably the best way to answer that.
If you have a new quarterback next year, do you feel confident you'll be able to?
No matter who our quarterback, we're going to be better on offense, and I'm very confident we'll be really good on offense next year.
What's the one thing you want to see the most from your offense in a game like this against Liberty after what happened last
I mean, we need to play well. We need to play well. We need to be better on third downs, and you look at the last game, it all goes to third downs. I mean, we weren't very good on defense, third down, weren't very good on offense. I think that's probably the biggest deal. We need to score points. I mean, we need to score points. So.
You seem confident that you can put up bigger numbers next year.
Very confident.
What leads you to that?
Well, just like I said, we got the majority of our guys coming back, and we've had some growing pains for some youth, and so that's the reason.
When you look at Liberty, you mentioned them playing Troy tough. What do you see from their defense?
They put a lot of guys, in the run support, and they're used to putting their corners and their DBs on islands. You can tell that that's what they do. They know their answers. Like I said at the very first, really what stands out to me when you watch them is they're very well coached. They don't do a whole lot of stuff, but what they do, they're very good at.
With it being senior day on Saturday, what's some of the biggest things that you've taken away from this class, especially this season?
Yeah, like I said earlier, that just the high character, how successful this group will be once they get done with football, and the leadership that they've shown since they've been here, and the way they've represented us. That's what really stands out to me.
Gus, offensively, you're very confident next year's offense. Do you need to add some more pieces to that offense?
I think anytime recruiting is going to be real important, not just offensively, defensively, special teams, and you're always, that's really your lifeline. So we want to improve recruiting really in all three areas and get guys there that can help us next year, and there's no doubt we're going to do that because we're in good shape right now with recruiting, and so that'll be a big part too.
I know Carl Lawson went through senior night ceremonies a couple years ago. Are there any juniors you expect to go through it this week?
John Tavius Johnson will be a part of that, and he's done a great job for us. Hadn't been able to play much because some injuries and all that, but done a super job for us in a lot of other areas.
Gus, it seems like when you have a really good year and you have those plays, that the handful of plays that decide so many games, you make those plays. And when you have a year like this, you've had a lot of those plays that you didn't make in close games. Is there something to the coach that you do to make that happen?
That has happened a few times this year, and it happened the other way you're saying last year. My experience is usually the more experienced teams find a way to do that. Sometimes when you're inexperienced, for whatever reason, you don't make the plays, but I think there's a handful of plays that we'd feel a little bit different now. I'm not going to say we'd be compete for a championship, but I think it's kind of common sense that we're a couple of plays away from feeling a little bit different. But probably the best way to answer that is the experience factor. Has a lot to do with that.
Recruiting-wise, how important is it to you to bring some help on the offensive line and at running back, considering the issues you've had this season?
Yeah, and I will say this, of course, all of them are back, and so that's a good thing as far as experience and everything that goes with it. But like I said, anytime you can bring in dynamic people that can help early, it just helps your depths and helps everything that goes with it, and as far as that goes.
Anything else? All right, good.
Okay, thank you all.